Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. So yeah, as mentioned, Levatas is a company that I work for. What we specialize in is automating end-to-end solutions. Our product is chassis agnostic, so it could be put on drones, fixed cameras, any type of robotics, not limited to spot. So how does it work? Kind of jumping into it, the kind of the main value add that Ollie really hit the nail on the head for was you automate routine inspection. The big points of that is you increase the safety. People don't need to drive out to remote sites in inclement weather anymore. You can have remote viewing available, so you can kind of prevent the need for that, increase the amount of safety that each potential contractor has going out there, but then also you increase the accuracy and the frequency of those checks as well. Fortunately, a robot doesn't get bored. So, kind of the short term benefit of that, when we say that, is you already have an increase in safety. It's more reliable and predictable when these checks are happening. As we know, oftentimes thermal checks or some of the more complex inspections can only occur a couple times a year, sometimes once or twice. So, what this does on the short term, as Ollie was alluding to, is we're able to assign thresholds to these checks, whether it's an analog gauge that is reading too high, a temperature that's running a little too low or too high, or anything you could really think of as far as these models. And what we're able to do from there, once that threshold is passed, is provide a notification either via email or text message. And kind of the value add of that is decreasing the haystack, if you will. That's kind of how we like to describe it as, instead of trying to find a needle in a haystack, we shrink the size of the haystack. So instead of needing to perform hundreds of inspections, we're only presenting you the ones that require your attention, only the ones that are a little too hot or too high. Now, in terms of the long-term benefits, beyond that, all this data is going to be stored over time. So as I mentioned before, those checks oftentimes only happen a couple of times a year. So there's a lot of insights that are able to be discovered as you're collecting this data on such a more frequent basis, as opposed to once a year, you're talking once an hour. So when you kind of have that information available to you, and kind of our preconceived notion may be, well, at 200 degrees Celsius, we've got a problem and we need to prevent, say, an unplanned outage that could affect some customers in our service area. Instead, what we may learn about a substation on the north side of Ontario is that it functions totally different from one on the south side due to weather conditions, et cetera. And we can start to glean insights from all of those extra data points that we get, instead of being so few and far between, to the point where instead of knowing that 200 degrees Celsius is a problem, maybe we start to learn that if it starts riding 180 for a week straight, then we know that this has happened 3 times before, and we can go out and know that we need to perform this kind of maintenance before there's an issue. And really the goal here, to translate very specifically to a customer like Ontario Power, is reducing unplanned outages, knowing more about your equipment, and making sure that the customers in your service area receive service for longer and less interruptions, right? So in essence, kind of getting to a place where instead of we're doing reactive maintenance, to a place where we're doing it proactive and even predictive and prescriptive from there. The last point kind of on this slide is the ability to integrate Spot and whatever other robotics or communication systems together. What I mean by that is some power generation folks or oil and gas folks need to deal with potentially explosive gases that certain robots can't function in. So what we're able to do is, beyond those kinds of gas monitors, say maybe fire alarm systems, or even audible alarms, we can have Spot communicate with that and take actions from there. A quick example of that will be if we start achieving higher LEL levels where there's a potential for explosion, we can tell Spot to get out of there or shut off and cut power to the motors. All right, so kind of the customer business cases that we look at, the way that we kind of start to funnel this down is, as I mentioned, the automation of current inspection tasks. That's kind of the big benefit here. We're able to take over these tasks that are currently being performed by humans and increase the frequency of it. More repeatable and reliable data collection. Also, with Spot, you're able to outfit him with separate different sensors. Really, the benefit of Spot, as I'm sure you've likely heard throughout this week, is that it is a mobile sensor. rather than needing to equip your site with separate cameras, thermal cameras, or even acoustic sensors. You can buy just one, put it on spot, and make him walk around. As opposed to, in some cases, especially in the nuclear and power generation space, we've heard numbers like a foot of electrical wire costs us $5,000, $10,000. So that sort of stuff gets expensive pretty quickly. And when you have those sensors available on one mobile unit, you're able to equip it with some more things, such as the SV600, which is an acoustic imager. With that, we're able to use all of these sensors in concert or together in order to glean additional insights. Just to give you an example of that, is we're currently experimenting a way to use the IR camera, the PTZ, pan tilt zoom camera, and also the acoustic imager in order to see if there's a way that we can detect partial discharge. Obviously, these are kind of experimental things that we're doing, but these kind of opportunities make open up to us when we have such a robust unit equipped with so many different sensors. So we're able to identify issues that cause that unplanned downtime or increase the energy cost. And of course, really the big thing here is the safety and security part of it. The biggest benefit to us, is getting people out of potentially life-altering injuries. These are dangerous jobs, and this is what these robots are here to solve.